Topping Talks.
Let's see it.
105 hours a week can't be beat. Welcome to Topping Talks. Topping Talks is a Topping Tribune production, and today's episode is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies and ExpressVPN. Topping Talks is also on Spotify, Rumble, Apple Podcast, and all of your favorite streaming platforms. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com and check out the website at www.toppingtechnologies.com to learn more. Also, are you part of the 3.6% of Americans who still care about your privacy? If you are, then perfect. ExpressVPN can assist. Even though 96% stats are made up on the spot, ExpressVPN does give a 100% guarantee if you have the 30-day back-money guarantee. Now, without further ado, today I'm proud to say we're interviewing Corey Lowe, who's the IT Service Desk Manager at Heidelberg Materials. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So, winding back a couple of years, how did you first get into IT? How did you first get interested?
It wasn't in IT. It was I was a gaming kind of person, right? So I had my mom to buy me a ColecoVision.
Oh, really?
When I was a young kid, yeah, she bought it for me. I was kind of upset because she didn't. She said, "I'm not gonna never buy you a gaming system. You need to read books."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Forget books." And so I went to my grandmother's house, and I came back home on Christmas Day, and she said, "Go to the closet." And it was sitting in the closet, wrapped up nicely. And I opened it up, and I screamed and ran and yelled, and I was like, "How do I hook this up?" Right? So I had to figure it out because she wasn't gonna help me.
Oh.
So yeah, that was my first. I wouldn't say interaction.
I mean, just connecting that's a pain. You have the pitchfork things. You got to screw it in with a screwdriver in the TV, make it work, jiggle it just right.
Just right, right?
And then that's pretty unique. Why ColecoVision? That was a very unique platform. I remember, it was like a telephone where we had because back then they were just figuring out how to do video games, and instead of the traditional like Nintendo controller, they literally had numbers like a telephone, and you insert the sheet over it for the different controls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just, to me, it was different. Mm-hmm. I didn't get the Atari like everyone else did.
The 2600, the OG.
I never got that. So I just got the ColecoVision because it was, I wanted to play Popeye. It was one of my favorites. It was play Donkey Kong and Frogger and things like that. So that's my kind of area.
I like that. Those games are iconic.
Absolutely.
It's one of the first systems with a voice modulator, too. Yeah. From the Mattel add-on to that thing. You hear the B-2 bomber and the hilarious voice.
Yeah.
It's like, it was so innovative back in the day.
Absolutely. It was definitely fun. It was fun. And in my house, it became the arcade game. Yeah. So I would charge 25 cents for people to come and play my game.
You serious?
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Cents. Back then, a quarter was like a lot of money, but
right?
But not today.
No. Nowadays, a quarter is literally just a gumball. If you could find a gumball machine,
if you can find one.
That has been converted to 50 cents. That's how bad the inflation is. A gumball is now 50 cents in some parts of the U.S.
True.
That's the real barometer for the economy for people to bring it back to home. It's like, back in my day, a Starburst was 75 cents with tax, so you get a quarter back. And now I look at a Starburst like over like $2. Like, geez Louise. Yes. It's like, no thanks. I'm gonna skip on that. Sugar. Yeah.
Definitely crazy. Definitely crazy.
So do you have to do any troubleshooting, or do you remember what was your favorite game that you had to save up for, or was it the Popeye one?
Popeye one was my favorite.
Yeah.
Right. Mom really only purchased like 3 of those games. Mm-hmm. After that, it was on your own.
Oh, yeah, I know how it is.
So doing it on my own, I had to go and mow yards. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. But to mow yards back then, you had an actual blade to actually cut the grass. So you had to mow it back and forth to make sure you cut the grass with a blade.
So you had the exposed blade one?
Yeah.
Oh, those are the cool ones.
Yeah. And I got in shape really quick.
Oh, yeah. It was no power assist on that. It wasn't a riding mower.
Exactly. No gasoline, but you just all manpower. But it was cool. It was good. Back then in the 80s. And
what do you charge for back then, out of curiosity?
Back then it was $10 front and back.
Oh, really? Damn, that's another thing about inflation. When I was a kid, when I was having my lawnmower business or lawn mowing business, I think I did $20 minimum. Yeah. And every once in a while I get a nice tip, someone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I had it easy. It was a manual, but it was push it. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a motor, but you still had to push it, and it was gas powered.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't quite as muscle building as your experience, though.
But yeah, it was interesting. I'll tell you that.
And what game did you save up for?
The one that I saved up for was the. Today they call it. It was 1942. It was that little airplane game.
Oh, yeah.
But it was something different back then. I can't recall the name of it. But yeah, that was my first one that I paid for.
Yeah.
Other than that, Mom paid for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
After
the way
that,
to
I
do
was
it.
like, nah, that's okay. ColecoVision not the way. So I got the little small gaming system. They were about this tall, and you can get a Pac-Man, you can get a Donkey Kong, and
Oh,
I
really?
think I had a Centipede. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's where so many IT companies come from. It's just those, I mean, I remember it was Steve Jobs that he actually worked at Atari, same with Wozniak. It's like that's where they first met, and they got paid a bonus for removing chips from the cartridge, or make it work more efficiently. It's like
More efficiently.
oh yeah, and the Chuck E. Cheese came from Atari. It's like people realize the founding of America's not to be too bombastic, but there's so many companies and so much of Americana built off of the video game industry back in the day.
Yes. Yes. And that's how some of our, I won't use the word culture, but I would use the composition of what we see today.
Absolutely, I agree.
It comes from that video game and that whole thought process of thinking outside the box.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, it was definitely interesting for me.
I mean, one of my best use cases of hiring people who have little lesser experience is one of my favorite video games of all time is GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. And it was one of the few video games on the platform that had over 1 million in sales, number of units sold. And that's despite coming like years after the movie came out, which everyone thought it failed just because of that. But half the development team on that never developed a game in their life.
Really?
But because they didn't have that perspective of working in a box, I mean, they attributed that team to having the multiplayer mode, which was developed like the night before like the due date, because they believed that much. They believed it was that important to put those extra work hours in, even though management said no more time, we have to get this released. And that ended up being the best part of the game that really spawned a huge culture of first-person shooters and those sleepovers, those split-screen instances, and just iconic. To this day, I turn on the system every once in a while when I have guests over and play it.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
That's good. That's what's up.
Right?
It takes us back. It relaxes us. It reminds us of the days when it was easy.
Didn't pay income tax. Didn't have to worry. No taxes. We had food on the table. Oh man, those are good times. Like
good times.
No downloadable content. You have to wait 30 minutes to start the game. It's like no extra $60 to pay for skins or the upgraded weapons. Like
Facts.
You turn on the cartridge, it worked. Now the downside is you got bugs in that game. They ain't going away anytime soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No matter how many times you try to update or blow in the cartridge or try to shake it a little bit, every little tap, it just work.
Oh yeah, and then years later we found out they lied to us. Like the reason they didn't have like systems or packages with the alcohol swabs back then to actually, because that's how you actually make it work. The Nintendo execs like years later in an interview admitted like, oh yeah, we were worried about kids having alcohol and like injuries, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how crazy. If you got a cartridge system, just take a little Q-tip swab, go on the pins, get that alcohol going, slap the cartridge back in, and that's what works. So people have that thing of, oh yeah, just blow on it. It's like, no, unless there's a preposterous amount of dust, that really doesn't do much. But the nostalgia means just like, oh yeah, that's how you fix it.
That's how you fix it. Yeah, that was it. That was the thing.
Perfect. And then I think you said after that you ended up going to join the Marines.
Yeah, actually, I joined the Marines after high school. Went to the military because I wasn't ready for college. I was one of those kids that actually worked. I was from what I would consider, I was poor. My family was poor. My mother raised me by herself, along with my grandmother, my aunt was there. But it was more so of what are you going to do, right? Once I graduated high school, I was a basketball kid. So I played ball a lot, and I was waiting on the scholarship, right? And the scholarship never came, never came. So I said, okay, I got to do something. I don't want to go back to school right now. I want to at least take a year off, and I want to go to Our Lady of the Lake University down in San Antonio. And so my mom says, nope, you got to do something. No year off, no nothing. I was like, gosh. So signed up for the Marine Corps, and first she was mad.
Really?
Because she was like, why the Marine Corps? You're going to get killed and blah, blah, blah. The Marines are dumb. They're stupid, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, Mom, I'm just going to go to the Marine Corps because they're the best. And she was like, but still, they're going to go to war. You're going to go to war. I'm like, Mom, I'm good. Yeah. It's okay. I'm covered. And so I went to the Marine Corps after high school. As I was in boot camp and got to my second phase, which is called MCT, Marine Combat Training, I received a phone call from my mother. And she says, hey, you got some mail here from Our Lady of the Lake University. And I was like, okay, well, open it. What does it say? And it says, congratulations, we are accepting you. I was like, what?
No. No.
So it came after I went to the military. So I was like, oh, well, hey, it happens.
Yeah.
So I just stayed in the Corps. I stayed in the Marine Corps for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
I did telephony.
No way. What were you doing?
So we mostly did, I was called what they call a field wireman. So as a field wireman, you set up telephone systems within the camp or within the base. So you work for base telephone.
Was it IP based, or what was it like back then?
Back then, it was all wired. So coax.
No way.
So yeah, coax, 26 pair cable.
Oh yeah.
Those kinds of things. They kind of evolved a little bit when it comes to security.
Oh, yeah.
So we went to SATCOM, right?
Oh, I mean, it's for the folks at home, satellite communication, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
satellite communications. And so we had that and encrypted phone devices. They were called KY68s back then.
Who made? Was it Motorola? Or who manufactured them?
Motorola.
Oh yeah. People don't realize that's how that company took off. Was that first military contract in World War II?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So did they have color screens, or what did the console look like, or what was the interaction like with the product back then?
Back then it was easy because if you learn the actual phone itself, it worked. Especially when it comes to the programming of the phone. If you learn the programming of the phone, it'll work because it tied into what they called a TIC42 VAN, or technical telephony communication VAN, basically. And you actually program it to talk to the VAN, and you can talk to anyone in the world.
Really?
So yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. You just charge people for, hey, you want to call home?
Yeah.
Hey, I need, then you make a phone call. But it was good. It was fun times. It was great times.
That's pretty neat. Where did you, if you don't mind me asking, where did you deploy them? Was it U.S. bases? Was it in the middle of nowhere?
Mostly.
What was it like connecting all this together in those type of environments?
It was fun because you got an opportunity to speak to other units, whether it be other like an Air Force unit or Navy or whomever it may be, if you were on deployment, or if you can working with. We were in Korea.
Oh,
so
no
we
way.
had to work with the ROC Marines, the Republic of Korean Marines,
Yeah.
to do all that telephony work. So it was great. I enjoyed it.
Where's the most favorite place you got to go and travel when you were in the Marines?
My favorite place?
Yeah.
If I had to say my favorite place, it would be Okinawa, Japan.
Oh, really? You got to Japan?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I loved it. Every minute of it. One of my best friends that we still communicate to this day, he met his wife there in Japan. And so I tell him all the time, man, I should have stayed in Japan. I know I left. But, things happen.
What was your favorite part about Japan? How long were you stationed there?
The food was amazing. I was there for a year. So got to go to Okinawa was just this one little island, basically. And mainland is about a 45-minute flight from Okinawa, Japan. And so we got to eat the best, I thought it was the best food. I got introduced to sake while I was in Japan. Yeah.
There you go.
Got introduced to kimchi. Got introduced to many different, today we call it here in the States Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
But over in Japan, it's another name, I can't recall it, but it was amazing. But it's cooked on an open flame and in that same format. But it was amazing. I just loved it. The culture, the people. I mean, it was totally different than here in the States.
Sounds delicious.
Absolutely. I loved it. I enjoyed it tremendously. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. And then what do you go after the Japan? You come back, or where else were you deployed?
Yeah, came back home. Well, when I say home, came back to the States. Went to what is called security school, Marine Security Guard School, MSG, to become a embassy Marine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. That was pretty fun.
So where do you worked at the embassy too?
I've done a little bit of everything.
That's so cool. Where at?
Mostly, I stayed home, so
Yeah.
I stayed in Quantico the majority of the time.
There you
Did
go.
Quantico, of course, been stationed in California and San Diego. Same at Camp Pendleton, which is right up north of San Diego.
So was it in other countries' embassy in the U.S.?
I was also in, not in the U.S., but when I got to travel, because I was more so on the legal side, on the MSG duty, so I got to see the difficulties of Marine Security Guard. So it wasn't an easy task. It wasn't an easy job. A lot of people think, oh, you go to MSG school and you get deployed, meaning that you go to either a hard duty or an easy duty. Most times you get a hard place duty, a hardship, what they call hardship duty, and you go to like places like Cairo, Egypt, Lebanon, or because we have embassies all over the world, right? Thailand, or you go to let's see, where else? What's a bad place? Istanbul and those kinds of places, right?
yeah.
So we have Marines everywhere. Just in case something pops off, we're already there.
Perfect.
So they're perfect.
Yeah. Especially Taiwan. Keep them there. Yeah.
Keeping it right. So I mean, it's those kinds of things. But I saw the bad side of it. I saw the Marines that were depressed. I saw the Marines that were not coming home because they took their own lives.
Oh, wow.
Things like that. So I mean, it was more of a challenge for me to see that and to say, why are these Marines hurting so bad? And it was more so they couldn't handle it mentally. A lot of them, and they wanted to go home, but they can't. So I mean, it's serving in a country to where your family is those 6 people that live in that house for a year and a half. That's your family, no matter what. So it was like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but you got to have some tough skin because I saw a lot.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Build a lot of character.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It would definitely build your character.
And what was it like transitioning, going to a civilian role? What was your first role after that?
It was very hard. It was very hard. I tell people all the time when I got out of the Marine Corps, I used to say this all the time. My wife tells me, she said, you know you're a civilian, right? And I would call everyone a civilian. I would never call myself a civilian.
Yeah.
And I was always angry all the time because things didn't work systematically. In the Corps, everything had a place and a time, and you had to be there. Like one was 2, 2 was 3, 3 is 4, right? It's not like that here in real world, I would say. But I lived it like that for the first 5 years when I got out, and I was like, something's different about me. And my wife said, you need to change because you're angry all the time. And I was really angry all the time. And she said, you need to go see somebody and check that out because it's not cool. And I was like, okay, well, I did. And I talked to one of my best friends, and he was like, dude, we got problems, because he was a Marine as well. And he said, the stuff that we saw and we did, that's not normal. And I was like, not normal? He said, no, it's not normal. You think it's normal for someone to continue to yell at you every day that you wake up for 4 years in a row? I was like, no, I guess it's not normal, right? But I mean, it was those types of conversations. But it was very challenging because I wanted stuff to be very detail oriented when I got out, and it wasn't that way. It wasn't that way. But then what was very interesting is when I did get out, I applied to come to work here in Texas because I wanted to come back home. And I said, okay, I'm going to work at DPS because I know they take Marines and it's very military mind focused and everything is structured and there's a uniform you get to wear.
What's DPS? What's DPS for the folks at home who might not be good at acronyms?
Department of Public Safety. To become a Texas State Trooper, basically. And so I was stationed in California at the time, and so I flew home, came all the way home to Dallas, Texas, took the test. I was like, okay, cool. Took the test. I was still in good shape. Took the test, passed the test. I was like, great. I come all the way back to California, get all my stuff all packed up, and I'm like, I'm going back home. And so I hadn't heard anything from DPS, Texas Department of Public Safety. And so when I get home, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I didn't make it. Maybe they didn't send me anything. And so years go by, and I run into the actual sergeant that administered my test. And I'll say, hey, his name was Sergeant White. I said, hey, what's going on? How are you? He said, oh, man, everything's great. He said, hey, what happened to you? I was like, what do you mean what happened to me? He says, what happened to you? You took the test, you came out, you PT'd, and we asked for you to come back to the academy. And I was like, wait, no, y'all didn't. He's like, no, we did. We sent all the paperwork. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I said, I was in transition coming back to Texas, and everything went to California.
Oh, no.
And so I missed out on the opportunity to become a state trooper, all because of that transition.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But it happened. It groomed me. You know, things happen for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it was a good thing I didn't become a state trooper, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But it happened for a reason.
And then where do you go after that?
After that, I was kind of like in my own little world for a moment, and my wife says to me, you got to do something. I was like, what do you mean? I'm working. She was like, no, you need a career. I was like, well, they didn't want me to be a state trooper. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm a Marine.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go away to the Marine Corps. She was like, nope. She says, nope, I'm not doing it. I was like, but we can travel. Nope. And so I didn't find out years later she didn't want to leave because she's Texas born. She's never been out of the country or anything like that until we got together and got married. So I was like, okay, I can understand that.
Yeah.
You know, she was kind of fearful. But it was great. But then I looked up and I partnered. I was working in ministry at the time, and a gentleman by the name of Patrick Sewell. Patrick, if you're watching, a great shout out to you, man. I really appreciate you. Patrick was a guy that he was already working in IT, and he says, "You got some IT background?" I was like, "Nah, I'm on telephony. I'm on the telephony side of the house." And he says, "Okay, give me your resume. I'm gonna get you into IT." And so he worked at Accenture at that time, and I was working at Sprint, and he says, "We're gonna get you into IT, and you're gonna learn some stuff. You know how to find an IP address?" I'm like, "A what?" No, man, I don't know what that stuff is. I don't know what no IP address is. I don't know what no Cat 5 is. What is Cat 6? What is that? And he says, "Well, I'll teach you." And I said, "Okay, great." So years go by, and I started working at Accenture, right? He got me on at Accenture, and I was like, "Okay, I can do this thing. I like this. What is this again? Okay, good. I can do this. I can type and talk to people at the same time. Oh, yeah, customer service. Oh, that's me all day long." And so I was at Accenture for about 2.5, 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Working on various contracts because they did contracting at the time. And started working for a company called Celanese. And that's why I learned the majority of my stuff when it comes to IT. I was doing during that contract piece with Celanese. It was great. Met some great people. And then I met a young lady. She says, "Hey, you got skills." I was like, "Gee, thanks." She was like,
Yeah.
"I want you." She says to me, "Write to me." I mean, it was amazing the way it just felt like right in alignment. She says, "I'm going after my Network Plus and my CCNA. When I find my next job and I'm settled, I want you to come with me." And I said, "You're gonna forget about me."
Yeah.
Didn't think about it. And so at this time, she pings me. This time, this is where LinkedIn, I think, first came about.
Right.
And she pings me and she says, "Hey, you still looking for a job?" I was like, "I'm not really looking," because I was good at Accenture. She was like, "No, I got a full-time gig for you." I'm like, "Okay, bet." So I sent her my resume, and about a week later, she says, "Can you come in for an interview today?" I'm like, "Today?" And she was like, "Yeah, come on today." And I was like, "Okay, great." So I leave work and go to this interview. She calls me back and says, "You got the job. When can you start?"
Nice.
I was like, "What?" And so they hired me right on the spot, and I was like floored. I called my wife and tell her about it, and she's like, "What are you gonna do with Accenture?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm gone."
Yeah. Right.
Right. So I left Celanese and Accenture behind, and at that time it was called Hanson.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they were still called Hanson at the time. Worked at the service desk for about 6 months. 6 months in, they sell the company to a company called Lehigh.
Yeah.
And so Lehigh buys the company, and now we're Lehigh Hanson. And I'm still at the desk, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, this doesn't look good." I mean, it got crazy busy all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, well, something has to happen. I'm gonna lead this team one day." And so at the time, that's why I met a gentleman that his name is Renard Henry.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "Dude, why are you here?" I said, "Man, I'm just here to get my foot in the door. And then next thing, I'm going to lead something somewhere." And he was like, "Okay, well, I'm good too." So he does his thing, goes off to the networking side of the house, and I stay with the service desk. And so I say, "Man, I can do better than this. I can do more." So I started learning about application security and the various applications that we had, of course, similar to it, like JD Edwards and Kronos and some other sole proprietary applications in the whole materials industry. And I said, I can do that. And so I'd applied for the position, and I got it. And I was like, okay, now it's time to go.
There you go.
And so I started learning app security. I started learning more about the audit process, because I did not know at the time that audit is a big, huge factor when it comes to security.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, okay, so I need to learn audit. So I started getting audit licenses and working solely with trying to be SOX compliant, trying to work with Ernst & Young, working with PwC, which is Pricewaterhouse.
Oh, yeah?
And trying to learn this whole audit thing, right? And so I'm like, okay, got the audit down pat, got the application security. What's next for Corey? And I was like, okay, what's next? How about project management?
There you
And
go.
I'm like, okay, And I started looking and searching. I'm like, project managers do what? Oh, they just tell people what to do? I love it. I mean, right? And so I tell my boss, hey, I want to do project management. She says, yeah, I want to talk to you about that. So we started doing what is called mergers and acquisitions with the company at Lehigh Hanson at the time. And so she said, do mergers and acquisitions for both application security and the service desk. And I was like, you want me to take on both of those? She's like, yeah, you got it. You can do it. And I was like,
God.
Okay.
What was the average acquisition like in terms of headcount? Because that's one of the most fascinating and fun things and challenging things in IT is all the variables, all the unknowns when you buy a company.
Yes.
And sometimes they don't do their. Some companies don't believe in due diligence. They look at the finances. That's very important. But some of them don't go into the nitty-gritty details. Like, whoa! Before you connect to the network, we got to see what's actually on their network.
What's on your network?
Yeah. What tools are they using? Are they have policies, but are they enforcing them? What's the real deal with IT before we do this integration on the tech side? And that's the whole thing in and of itself.
Facts. Absolutely. You got to do site visits. You got to go do an inventory of hardware. Not just of hardware, but what applications are you using? What software is on your PCs?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
What software should or should not be on the PC?
What should not be on the PC?
Yeah.
What people are watching and doing.
And precisely. What are they downloading? It's like, oh, yeah, great. You got that free song. But also, you got viruses everywhere now. Thanks, LimeWire.
Facts.
Yeah, vintage IT joke. LimeWire.
Oh. I remember. Right, so I mean, it was cool. So we did that for a moment, and my boss says, "Hey, I want to remove you from the application security place, and you just focus on getting the service desk and all the M&As done." And so that's when I started working, getting our environment at Lehigh Hanson moved from XP to 7, and then from 7 to 10, and then from 10 to 11 to where we are today. And I'm like, this is crazy.
You were on Windows 8 too? That's rough. I remember that. That was a bastardized of an OS. That was tough times in IT.
Yeah.
It was, for those who aren't familiar with it, it was a very brief use case where it made sense for tablets, for touchscreens.
Yes.
But dear God, they pushed that onto PCs that were not touchscreens, and it's probably one of the most awkward interfaces in IT I could ever comprehend in years of working in IT.
Absolutely.
The opposite of intuitive, just confused everyone. All of a sudden, everyone became a help desk for their family too. You get those, those calls.
Hey, I was working on my dad's computer. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so you had to go through all those upgrades. Oh my gosh, what was that like?
It was crazy.
Especially on that level too, because how many users at that time were there?
At that time, we were Lehigh Hanson. We had about 5,000 users.
Oh my gosh!
And we had to do both laptop and desktop. Those were just our laptop users. Wasn't even our desktop users.
Yeah.
And we had to talk about upgrading the desktops that were on various business applications. So some of them were non-domain PCs that we had to get upgraded. And I'm like, this is crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. And it still is crazy to this day.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so I did that for a moment. And my wife, she tells me, you're working too hard. I'm like, no, I'm working for our future.
Yeah.
And so continue to do that. And fast forward to today, I went to become the project manager that I wanted to become. And I'm like, yes, I'm about to take my pin block and I'm going to be good. And so my manager, he comes to me, he says, hey, I need you to do something for me. I was like, what's going on?
Uh-oh.
I need you to go back to the service desk. I was like, no. Need you to go back to the service desk. I'm like, oh. And he says, but this time when you go back, I want you to manage the team.
There you go.
And I said, manage the team?
Really?
I said, I'm all for it. Let's go.
Giddy up.
I said, do I have full autonomy? He said, yes. Great.
Nice.
I'm in. Right? So that's where I am today. I manage a team of 12, including the application security piece. And I still handle the mergers and acquisitions for both the service desk and the application security. And it's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, what's the total user count up to now?
User count now, with this new acquisitions coming up, it's going to put us right at about 4,500.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of endpoints, that's a lot of users.
Yeah. But it's good. It's good. Once I've always said this, is if you proactively train or proactively teach, you don't have to continually take calls.
Not true.
We can do other things with that time, right? So I tell my team all the time, we have to be proactive in nature to make sure that we're actually teaching and educating our customer, which is those persons at the plant, right? I always give the scenario like this when it comes to Heidelberg Materials, is that we are the Flintstones of the 21st century. we make big rocks into little rocks.
Sure.
And then we sell it.
Yeah.
And people buy it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in the wrong business, right? But I mean, it happens. But that's who we are today, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
I can't.
That's my journey. It's from beginning to end, and it took that time frame for me to grow. One, to learn people, because it takes some time. Not everybody is teachable.
Well, that's true.
That's the right phrase.
But I mean, I don't know. To me, it's such a bizarre. To me, it's an incomprehensible idea. But I know there are some people who they look at the clock. It's 4:58 on a Tuesday or a Friday. I gotta go home.
I gotta go.
It's like no. To me, it's always is the task accomplished? Is the goal accomplished?
Yes.
It's like, are you taking care of the end user?
Absolutely.
Are you closing those tickets out properly? Or are you just copy pasting the same response? It's like, what's really going on? And
What's really going on?
That's where you get a lot of fun curveballs, but there's a lot of headaches I know with end users. They're blessing and a curse. You need them. Obviously, they're it's a team. You need them.
Yes.
But then every once in a while, I get those funny emails like, just reset the PC first. It's like not 100% of problems in life are solved by resetting your PC, but a very high percentage, nevertheless, seems to just magically be fixed by just resetting the good old Windows machines.
Yes, that's a definite fact.
It's like I always joke when it comes to like service desk projects, be like, we should give them some mugs that say like, did you Google it first, or did you reset your PC first? Then give us a ticket. Then hit us up in IT. We'll move heaven and earth for you.
Yeah.
But just those are two of the biggest tools that comes to troubleshooting. Just because check it out on the internet. Because with all the forums these days, especially with like even just it may sound rudimentary, but even Reddit forums, you got Facebook forums. Good X Twitter. There's a lot of resources out there because, there are a myriad of different PCs and stuff out there, but a lot of people have the very same problems. They're going through the same thing, and it might just be a quick fix that just takes a couple clicks.
That's all it takes.
Oh yeah,
it's just about education.
Oh, very true.
Education, and I think what happens, especially when people do call, if you say those things up front and say, you know what, you don't have to call me all the time.
Yeah,
just go here. Here's the quick fix for that.
Yep.
Or it could be an update. A lot of people don't know that I gotta do updates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
I hit cancel on that last week. You might want to go ahead and do it this week.
Oh yeah. Like password changes. Can I do that next quarter? It's like no. Can't it be 4 characters? No. 15 plus. Come on now. Those are rookie numbers. You need a long, complex password these days.
Oh man, that gets them every time. 15 characters. Yeah. It's like one upper.
Yeah.
One lower.
Throw in a special character. It's like, why? It's like, well, shoot. Do you want me to bust out the graph for you that shows you statistically how fast you can break in based on the number of characters, all that fun stuff? Just get some nice graphics cards. Get in there pretty quick. That's why we need you to help, because there's malicious actors everywhere and always.
Absolutely.
They don't take days off
at all.
No. So it's it might sound silly, but shoot, that has one of the best guards for cybersecurity defense. Just have a long password. Makes life a lot harder for those bad guys.
Facts.
Oh yeah,
definitely facts.
But yeah, it's funny how some of the largest enterprise companies sometimes have rudimentary passwords. I haven't worked there since back in my day when I used to work at HPE. Terrible. This was before I cared about cybersecurity. I was so I'll never forget. I actually bragged to the guy. I'm sure he died inside, but I was getting my PC fixed, which you had to do a lot back then. But I went to the service desk to get my PC fixed when I was working at HPE, and I'll never forget. He's like, "Can you log in?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I have the best password." I go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And I clicked enter. He's like, and he looked at me. He's like, "That works?" Like, yeah, it's an allowed password. And I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world. It's like, oh yeah, whoop, log in every time.
It worked every time.
And they didn't have a policy that would not allow it. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Right.
And that worked for like a year plus when I worked in inside sales. And yeah, after that, I started to add, change it a little bit.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started getting to cybersecurity, when I got promoted to Aruba and started my own company, then I'm like, oh yeah, now it's going to be beyond incomprehensible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, yeah, that's not flying anymore.
You have to, right? You have to.
Oh yeah, and then
it's definitely necessary.
Oh yeah, get some extra things. Throw in MFA for all that kind of stuff. It's like, more variables better. Out of curiosity, what's your conceptual thoughts around because I know with Windows 11 you could have a facial recognition blocking as well, and
I don't like it.
No.
I think when it comes to facial recognition, it's easier to scan your face. And also present it in order to unlock your devices. Even when it comes to your mobile device, even when it comes to your laptops, I can, for instance, if I had a picture of you, I could scan that, put it into my mobile AI, and that'll be my face. And it'll work. And I'm like, you shouldn't do it. It should always be something that you actually have to enter, I think, because it's more secure, because you don't want to know it. And unless you done gave it to someone, and then now you've broken protocol.
True.
But I think you definitely need to have that 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 character password, because no one will know that. It's very challenging to try to break that versus getting your thumbprint or basic getting your face or anything, or even with voice.
True.
They're having so many different tools now that can actually scan your voice and take your voice, and now guess what? I sound like you.
That's true. No, it's crazy. I mean, just in the past 24 months, especially, like when they were first having all these like free tools online where you could spoof someone's voice, you needed a couple of hours of their voice so the AI model could learn from it. Now they just need a couple of minutes of you speaking, they got you.
They got you.
It is insane. And unless you're a forensic analyst, you're working for that like 3-letter agency,
Facts.
most people are not going to be it's scary. They won't be able to tell the difference between the real and the fake. And all of a sudden, you can easily break into some of those systems and just log right in. So it's, I'm a little skeptical when it comes to things like, actually, I don't think you'd have that yet for like logging onto a laptop with your voice. But I wouldn't be a fan of trying that out anytime soon.
No time soon, right? And it's crazy because people say, oh, I want to put my face. No, you don't. No.
Well, also, I mean, just privacy. Well, okay, what if they just, depending on the circumstances, will they just scan your face? Like they just take your phone, just point at you. Well, okay, there. Now they just logged into your phone.
Just logged into your phone.
Yeah, so like, I think does Apple still give you the option?
They do.
Okay, so you can do a PIN or anything like that. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do both at our job. So we do both your password and also your PIN.
Do you have Apple too?
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we have a few. Some of those execs, they kind of, I don't want to carry the big, heavy laptop, right?
It's like, I'd love to get a scale and just put on the desk, like, oh, what do you know? they weigh the same or if not more. It's like, there's a couple options, but usually with my tech company, we're working with folks, usually the graphic design, the art department, it's like the marketing department, they love their Apple products. And all right, we'll have to get some extra tools for that. And I mean, thankfully nowadays, most cybersecurity solutions have an Apple. Because they know Apple's growing in terms of, corporate America and those types of things. Well, it's funny when like Jam from those folks will be like, oh yeah, 50% of all corporate America offices will be 50% laptops will be Apple by 2025 or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, not unless they win the lottery. No, like it's great, but I mean, imagine how much that would add up in the aggregate when you got thousands of employees. Like unless you're the Apple company, like I'd be I'm not sure how many CFOs are gonna be signing off on that.
They won't.
Now,
cost effective.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe only if Apple continues to ridiculously bolster their cybersecurity. Maybe, but even then.
But even then, because what they've done, and I know Microsoft is trying to do this, and they maybe have already done it, is they're trying to upgrade their OS every 6 months.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you upgrade it every 6 months, and you're charging us to do so, how much money are you really making in that 1 year? So I know with us, they're doing that, but we're taking the approach of saying, okay, we're going to ease into this thing. We're going to start with, we're going to have Windows 10, 22H2, version 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, 3 months later, they've already upgraded the last version. And we're like, wait a minute, dude, you just got a couple of million from us for this.
Right?
So it's that game that they're playing. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, they also have the whole world trying to break into those OSs. So, so I understand there's that, kind of like certifications. I'm always a little pessimistic when it comes to like paying thousands of dollars for tech certs to manufacturers. Because, yes, it's very important to know the technology, but at a certain price point, I just start to think, is this just a revenue generating for your company?
Exactly.
Because, like, one of them was like $10,000 like a VMware, something like that years ago. And I mean, it's one of the few times I actually laughed out loud to like a sales rep on the call. I was like, that's a car like that. That's and my team, like, I know my guys can do this already. Like, no, we're not doing that at this time.
Yeah.
It's like,
not right now.
No, it's like, no.
Come back when I'm gone from the company.
Yeah, right? It's like all that for a piece of paper when we have the knowledge already. They're doing deployments already. It's like, I don't know about that. Like, after a certain price point, I'm like, okay, this is just a profit center for your company now. It's no longer just a tool.
Facts.
It's like, that's why I especially appreciate some tech manufacturers where they have free or nearly free certifications for sales and engineering resources. It's like, that's an extra incentive to invest some, time in those solutions as well.
Of course.
Well, yeah, some of those, I mean, what's it like going through updates on that scale? And some of those end users, where they just want to click that cliche button, like ignore, or kill a couple days there, remind me. It's
remind me.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Get phone calls all the time about it.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
Can I get 15 minutes of your... Who? No,
It's
not
like
today.
15 minutes. Oh, that should be another meme or a T-shirt or a mug. Like, did you file a ticket first?
Did you file?
Because again, that's right. And again, folks usually understand. Put the what they used to say back in the day. Put the moccasin on the other foot.
Yeah.
Because they realize it's like, hey, we all perform whatever job we have in life in the private sector. We all have metrics and how we're doing. It's like, well, if you don't log a ticket, they think, why am I wasting time? It's like, no, you're not wasting time. They're troubleshooting a very, it's an important thing for the end user.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, you got to log that ticket first. It might be, I mean, no one likes doing it. It's a frustrating extra step. But you know what? It takes a couple seconds or depending on what you're using, a couple minutes. But it's worth it. Makes everyone happy.
It is.
Again, it's 21st. I mean, it's all about the power of data. What are the metrics? How many tickets are you getting? How many are you knocking out? What's the turnaround time? What are the statistics around that?
Yep.
Are the tools working? Do you need to get a new tool based on that? It's like, got to measure all those variables.
Absolutely.
I always joke, it's like every company's a tech company. They just don't know it
They
yet.
don't know it yet. Yeah. Don't forget cost per call. You got to talk about that too.
Oh, very, very
Cost
true.
per call, cost per ticket. Everything's about bottom line and cost.
Oh, very true. Especially if it's company's public traded, they got dividends, all that kind of. There's even more eyeballs on them.
Absolutely.
I mean, just one bad fiscal quarter and people freak out. It's like,
Yes.
what do you mean you missed earning expectations? How could you possibly?
What do you mean we're below 20%?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's your favorite story from in terms of like a project you worked out recently, or one of your favorite accomplishments maybe working in the past couple of years?
A major one, something I was very, very proud of. I'll tell you the bad one first.
Let's hear it.
The bad one was I was an analyst on the desk, and at that time, I got a little bit extra power than others. And I saw a notification come through. It said, hey, we're going to disconnect or terminate these particular users. I was like, okay, cool, not a problem. So I wrote a script, put it in PowerShell, and I hit enter, and the script ran through. And then all these calls started coming in. And I was like, man, why'd the call volume go up so high? I'm looking at the board, and I'm like, what happened? Well, I happened.
Oh, no.
I wrote the script to terminate over 2,000 users in our environment.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, man, I did that.
Oh, no.
And so my boss comes out and says, what happened? I said, I messed up. He was like, what you messed up? Oh, they're calling about me. Their account's terminated. And he was like, what? And he goes off, right? He's screaming, throwing pens and paper. And I'm like, it's a quick fix. So I went ahead and wrote another script. And,
Perfect.
And, of course, it turned everything back on.
There you
But
go.
we received, in that one, hour of time period, we got over 1,500 calls.
1,500?
And people were
Oh my
actually
gosh.
waiting to say, hey, something's going on with my account. And I'm like, it's me. I did it. And so that was but it was a learning experience.
Oh, absolutely.
I took it for a learning experience. And I said, I'll never do that again.
Yep.
Which I've never done it.
Excellent.
So that was my bad experience in IT. But I think one of my major accomplishments was these OS upgrades. Is in our environment, it changes year over year. Of course, due to attrition, due to people leaving and coming to the company. I think we've done a great job with my team. I can't do anything without my team.
Of course.
And I tell them all the time, I say, you guys are the best part of me, right? So once you've taught a team and trained them and worked with them, you become family. So my team is my family. And so, of course, you have a big brother, a little brother, and all those other kids, right? And I tell myself, you guys are just my kids. But it's more of training them and teaching them. And so when I've taught them how to do these OS upgrades, it's easier now to where I don't have to be physically or hand-holding in order for them to actually do it.
Excellent.
So once teaching them how to do it, I'm not worried about the 5,000. I'm not worried about getting the desktops done. I'm not worried about the non-domain and the domain PCs. So I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about it. Great. I think that's for me, that's a big accomplishment when you can train someone, teach someone how to do what you know, so you don't have to physically do it yourself. So that way they can teach somebody else. It's about teaching someone how to fish, basically, so they can fend for themselves.
Absolutely. Was there a specific one of those upper dates that you ran exceptionally well, or?
Absolutely. The one that I really did enjoy was the XP to 7 and then 7 to 10, because we had to do some hoops. There was some hoops that had to be jumped through to get the work done.
Like what?
One location they never showed up in SCCM, so we had to go and okay, do you guys work?
Yeah.
And we found out that the switch was actually broken.
Oh.
And so they had network abilities, but they couldn't receive anything.
Really?
I was like, what is going on? So we had to go and look at the switch. The switch was misconfigured. So we had to configure the switch again, talk to our partners overseas in Heidelberg, talk to our partners here at the data center. And I'm like, okay, so you guys should have been talking a long time ago.
Yeah.
This shouldn't have to come to the service desk. Or to me. Y'all should have been talking.
Right.
And so my boss says, how'd you find it out? I said, we knew we had at least 50 people at this one location, and we could never get them the package.
Oh.
And so he said, well, who's a part of this? And I was like, that's your network people over there. That's them.
Yeah.
So it was one of those kinds of things, but it all worked out. But
Right.
it was more so about who's going to do the troubleshooting to find out the why. And I think that's the piece where a lot of people don't understand. We always got to find out the why. What's the reason behind it? What happened or what took place in order for it not to work properly? So I think that was definitely a key for me to always, and I do that in my personal life too, is what's my why? Why do I do a thing? Why have I done a thing? And then why did I go back and do it again? That kind of thing, right? So that's what it is for me.
And have you got to travel a lot for the company? Because it's global as well.
I know it's Czech Republic a couple of times.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
What was that like?
It was cool. The food is definitely different.
What was it like? Or what kind of food? Or what's the most popular dish over there that you like the most?
I didn't say I liked anything.
Oh, no?
No, but it was more. It was different. That's
Yeah.
what I would say. If I had to eat it every day, maybe I would come to like it. But it was definitely different. They had this. It was like a sausage in an actual pig skin casing, and it looked like it had like black gravy on it. And I was like, "This is what is this?" And he said some name, and I was like, "He said it's great." I was like, "Sure." So I tasted it, of course, and being who we are from the South, 'cause, you know, we're Southern gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we never want anyone to be upset or be indifferent. So, of course, you know, I had to eat it. And later on, I paid for it. But,
Right.
you know, I just had to endure for 4 days. But it was okay.
There you go.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
And then what do you like to do outside the office?
Outside of the office, I'm a family guy.
Yeah.
I'm a family guy, married 24 years.
Congrats.
So, shout out to the missus.
There
She's
you
been
go.
dealing with me for 24 years long. And I love my kids. We have 4 grandchildren.
Oh, cool.
So we love that. We love being grandparents. I think that's the biggest joy. We have one 16-year-old in the house. She got 2 more years.
That's getting there.
Yeah, then we're going to have an empty nest, right? So yeah, she's 16, but our youngest after her, but I call him my youngest because he's our baby boy. He's 25, so we'll be 26 in January. So there's a 10-year gap in between it, right? And my wife and I, we talk about it. We say, well, now what were we thinking?
Right.
What happened? Why did we should have rethought that thing now, right? So, but yeah, that's what we do. I'm a family guy. I just love home. I love my family. Do anything for my family. That's what it is.
What's your favorite family activity to do?
For us, we just like to just have fun and talk and joke.
There you go.
With the grandkids, we just like to just be around them because
How old are they?
we have a 10-year-old, we have a 5, a 3, and 2 3s. Yeah, 10, 5, 2 3s. So it's more so getting to watch them and to watch our kids say, well, we couldn't do that. Whatever, right? So our grandson comes over to the house. He loves to play video games.
Oh, really?
So
What is he playing these days?
He likes playing PS5. So
Can't believe they're already out on the 5.
Yeah.
I had the 2 growing up.
Yeah, see,
and 1.
Exactly, right? So he likes 2K24. So he's a big Ja Morant
Oh, there you
fan.
go.
And I'm like, why do you like Ja Morant? Because he can jump high, Papa, and he can dunk the ball. I'm like, well, I mean, he is like 6'2". I mean,
That helps.
he can, dunk the ball. I mean, so he's in that phase. He's only 5, of course, but he loves it. He loves 2K24, and so the other one, the 3-year-old, he's standing on top of the coffee table. And my wife says, "Oh, look at him! He's standing on top of the." I said, "That's not funny. No, get him off the coffee table." And so she takes a picture of him on the coffee table, and the other one is right behind him in the background, jumping on the stairs in the house, right? Thinking he's dunking the ball.
Yeah.
And so she puts it on Facebook, and my son calls me and says, "Why is he on the table?" I'm like, "Dude, that's your mom. We weren't allowed to sit on tables around the house. What is going on?" And he's walking on the table, walking on the couch, and I'm like, "When did we get soft?"
Right?
My kid, they say, "When did y'all get soft?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So yeah, that's the funny part when it comes to our grandkids. So we just love that part of seeing our grandkids and just being with family. That's what it's about. It's about family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are they in the sports yet, or what kind of games are they playing? Are they in football?
Well,
Or
the
Pee Wee
10-year-old
football? Or?
No, well, he is, but he's more basketball.
Oh, okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
he will play football, but he likes basketball more, right? And then our 10-year-old granddaughter, she's a dancer.
Oh, cool.
So she's doing the whole, I don't want to say it wrong, but she doesn't cheerlead. They do the dancing thing. I don't know what it's called. I just go to support in the heat, and I'm leaving
There you
after
go.
she performs, right? And then she has just recently got accepted to an academy
Oh,
to
cool.
where she can do a dance thing, full time. So I mean, I love it. I love it. So we have two dancers in the family, the 10-year-old and the 16-year-old.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
A lot of people realize how intricate it is, or how physically demanding some of those dancing choreographing is.
Absolutely.
It's insane.
It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. But it helps when you have someone that does it all the time, which is our daughter-in-law. Our daughter-in-love is what we call her. My son's wife. She's an actual dancer. So
Oh,
she has her
really?
own dance studio. Yeah.
That's pretty
Can I
cool.
give a shout out real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
Yeah.
Dare to Dance Studio in Mesquite, Texas is my daughter. So if you have your girls or your guys who wants to learn more about dance, definitely go out. Dare to Dance Studio.
I was gonna say, do they have a website too?
I'm not sure. I
If
think
they do,
she does.
If they do, I'll throw it in the description. So wherever you guys are listening, just check out the description and be able to go to their website, their Facebook. We'll get their socials on there as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
How long has she owned the business? That's pretty cool.
It's now, let me see, Zion is 10, so it's been 6 years now.
That's all. She beat the curve. That's awesome. That first year is always a rough.
yeah.
That's always the toughest thing to start any company.
Yes.
That's
yes.
incredibly cool.
Yeah, she loves it. That's her passion, is dancing and teaching girls how to dance and the proper technique in dancing and ballet and jazz and hip hop and the whole nine.
Ballet is the most painful thing on the planet. I've had friends with daughter. They've gone that route. People realize that is hell on your feet.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
not just physically demanding with the cardio. And you got to cut the weight. Like it's like
Yes.
that dexterity and just that impact. Because to this day, aren't they still filled with concrete with the toes?
Yes.
It's
It's
tough.
crazy.
You'll build a lot of character, a lot of callus really quick.
Absolutely.
It's like there's a reason football players, some of them throughout the years, they do the ballet. It increases your ability to just jump, and it really does help with a
your
lot
balance
of
and everything. Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. That's what Herschel Walker used to say when he did ballet. Was it helped him with his balance when he was on the football field. So yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, that's one of those things where, another life. I wish I did. With all my lack of coordination, I definitely should have probably done that growing up.
See, I'm not coordinated, so it wouldn't have worked for me. No, not at all. But other than that, my other hobbies is, which is I have a fun fact, and I'll ask you. My fun fact is this: I've visited every continent except one. Can you name it?
I feel like you would only answer that question if it's a very bizarre question. So, because of the military, I'm gonna guess you actually have been to Antarctica. One continent you haven't been to.
Mm-hmm.
What's Australia part of? It's
I've been to
not
Australia,
That's not a continent, though.
but I've been there.
Let's see. Or maybe it's just something so simple. I would never guess it. South America?
You just said it.
Really? You haven't
No,
gone there yet?
it's Antarctica.
Oh, okay.
I've been to every continent except one, which is Antarctica.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Is that something on the bucket list, though? You want to go there?
No,
It's only like negative 50 or something comical like that.
I'll never go there. Never.
There might be gold or treasure, or who knows?
I'll let someone else find it. Absolutely. But other than that, I think another one of my fun facts is I've been in ministry for over 25 years actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, 25 years. My wife and I both. And I am licensed and ordained.
Very cool.
As a ministry, yes. But I love it. I mean, I love people. I love building people. And I love educating people. I think especially when it comes to various ethnicities, we find there's a gap in there when it comes to, finances.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to teaching of finances and how to do them and how to ensure that you have them for later on, not just for your generation,
Very true.
but for those that are coming behind you, right? So I've been doing a lot of studying on that and teaching our younger kids about their finances.
Do you like Gordon? Do you like Dave Ramsey?
Yes.
That guy's awesome.
Yes.
That's not to talk too much smack about the public school system in the United States with the
Oh my
32-year low ACT scores, but
my gosh.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's a crime of all the things they teach in schools. Majority of Americans are not financially literate. It's terrible. Especially when it comes to, again, if you have any youth listening, the power of saving, throw that into a high-yield savings account. Legally not financial advice, but adding up in the aggregate, the compound interest pays in dividends.
Yes.
But yeah, a lot of people don't realize, like, everyone can save. I mean, a lot of people think they can't. But if you just take a harsh reality, just look at every line item on your credit card, which I always tell people, no matter what you make in life, look at every line item on your credit card, because you never know about theft. And maybe it'll wake you up to realize, wait a minute, why am I spending, all of a sudden you add it up. Last year I spent, let's say, for example, $800 in coffee. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
Buy a machine for $20 from Walmart, get drip coffee for like a couple cents a day.
Absolutely.
It's nothing. And let's be honest, they all taste about the same.
Absolutely.
Unless you're getting the candy in a cup and you're spending $12 on a mojito, cappuccino, whatever they call those things these days. But it's like, yeah, it is ridiculous, the lack of financial literacy, especially when it comes to long-term savings and generational wealth. The majority of the time is squandered by very similar to family-owned businesses. A lot of the time, it's second or third generation is gone because there's that issue of not all the time, but on average, usually the first generation builds a company. They have to work like hell, working 105 hours a week, and sometimes their parenting style is they're not as harsh on the kids, or they don't have that hustle, so to say, because they have the security, the company, the wealth, money, it's already there. So it's kind of taken for granted in many cases. So they just kind of don't work as hard. Or they don't, drive quite as fast, and they think the money's always going to be around. It's like, no, it'll easily vanish more quickly than we like.
Absolutely, you're spot on. You're spot on, and I share that with a lot of people. Is that when you're building generational wealth, it's not for you.
Exactly.
It's for that not even 3 years, 3 generations, or 4, or 5th, or 6th. This is saying, hey, it doesn't. There's a verse in the Bible where it talks about poor people. It talks about them saying that the blessed are the poor, right? They're going to always be with you. That's a true statement. The poor will always be here, but it doesn't mean that you have to be poor.
True.
So therefore, my philosophy is just simple. If you begin to teach and to learn generational wealth, your name, your children, those that follow your legacy, they will always have something to say, you know what, Papa left such and such.
Yep.
Right? And it'll carry on, because I'm not just going to keep all this knowledge. I'm going to pass it on. We're going to pass it on. We're going to pass it on. Why? Because we need to keep the generational wealth going for the next generations to come.
Precisely.
And so it's very important that we learn about money. It's very important that we learn about either it's a fund, whether we learn about IULs, whether we learn about
stocks and dividends.
Just doing that piece and getting more educated. I think it's great.
What's the number? It's kind of cliche to say or ask, but what's the number one piece of financial advice you like to first tell people about when they're first getting interested in the subject?
One is I tell them that you can save. They can do it.
Oh yeah.
Because like you said earlier about coffee, I look at it when it comes to fast food.
Oh yeah.
We spend so much money at fast food,
especially nowadays.
Yes.
It's criminal.
No one likes to cook.
No.
Right? My grandmother used to cook all the time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it trickled away from being cooking to where, McDonald's became, to me, when I was a kid coming up, McDonald's was a treat.
Oh, yeah. Same.
That was not we're going to McDonald's tonight. We just had it the other night.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. Pizza was a treat. Pizza Hut or Pizza Inn, that was a treat. That was not an actual, everyday meal.
Precisely.
Right? So, I think we need to look at that first. Secondly, I think we need to look at all of these various apps or streaming apps that we have.
Trash. Yeah. No one needs it. That's the number one thing that I always tell I always joke I'm part of the 1% of Americans don't have Amazon Prime or a streaming service. Because again, this content's free and it's pretty damn good. I'm a little biased myself, of course, but
absolutely.
Even YouTube, which I'm not a fan of YouTube in general, like Rumble.com, much better. But even YouTube, they have quote unquote free movies, but they have ads. There's, especially with why pay for Spotify Premium? I like what the company's doing, and they stand for free speech, but this is free on Spotify. Just download it.
Just download it.
I don't even have it monetized. So I don't have, there might be the pop-up ad at the beginning, but there shouldn't be the ads when being read during the show.
Exactly.
And they add up. And the thing I don't like about streaming services the most is a majority of the time they don't own the intellectual property. So they're renting, like Netflix paid $100 million to have friends on there for a while to stream it. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be there the whole time. So if you're paying for that service, they won't be there the next year, potentially, depending on the contract negotiations.
Yes.
And people don't realize how much they're spending on all the streaming services. And at the end of the day, also, not to be pessimistic, but is it making you smarter or a better person? Ooh. And are you making money on it? Or why?
That's an amazing question.
Like, I think the last time I actually, like, streamed something, I listened to, like, I turned something on. So when, like, for my tech company, I'll do the drop-offs to find prospective clients. And I'll put together these boxes and I'll fill them with accoutrements and little knickknacks and, like, a little QR code to scan to go to an event. Mm-hmm. And that'll take me maybe, I think the last one took me about 30 hours in terms of totally the assembly of the boxes and do all that stuff. In that case, I turned on a streaming thing, but it was a free thing. It was a podcast. It was just a video on Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Again, I think the uncertainty of not having the thing you want on that streaming service, and thus the proliferation and the market saturation.
Yes.
No one needs to pay for entertainment these days. No. So especially when I'm telling, like, some of my friends ask me for financial advice, I'm like, how many streams are you paying for? How many apps are on your phone?
Yes.
And how many of them are making you money, or are they taking away time, your most valuable asset, from your family and your friends, or your career, depending on what you're pushing for in life? I mean, is it really building you? Is it a tool? Are you using it as a tool for you, or is it against you?
Yes.
So yeah, just get rid of those. Then credit cards, like,
oh my gosh.
I always tell people the most important things in life will be the smaller the print. Unfortunately, on many contracts, including credit cards. And yeah, a lot of people realize you pay a minimum, you're going to be paying for decades. It's that interest rate, those rates. Like,
know your APR.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those, especially, I'd love to see the ROI calculator built for college degrees too. Don't get me started on that, because I'm still paying off my student loans. To me, I got value because at the time, Hewlett Packard Enterprise required a college degree to become an inside sales rep. Subsequently, like 2 or 3 years ago, they got rid of it. But it did help me get into tech. And I met a couple good professors. But, like, I got a business degree. I learned more in business the first year of starting my company than the whole 4 years of college.
Right.
It's like, you made some good people, and I understand the argument of the connections, depending on where you go to school. That can make a difference. If you're a lawyer, then people pay more for a fancy logo. I know that. Yes. But on average, when you look at the ROI, like, do you need a degree for underwater basket weaving? No, absolutely not. You'll lose money forever. So,
right.
Yeah, but yeah, financial, I think, in terms of, like, you look at the United States, especially, and it reflects in who we elect too. And this is the thing, I don't think it's political because everyone does it in politics. It's $35 trillion in debt to the U.S. government right now because of both sides of the political aisle. They all just keep spending money. And it is, I mean, we're going to have to eventually solve something useless we don't need, like, I don't know, Hawaii, but I'm like kind of kidding. But it's like, it's just so insane how little education is out there.
Yes.
But again, if you start to look for it, especially a lot, I love what Ramsey's done. And yeah, there's resources out there, but if you search for it, and thankfully, a lot of free stuff on the internet, just look up, there's a lot of free budget tools out there.
Yes, a lot of tools.
Yeah, but you just got to take that first step, and then discipline is key. And then going back to the treat thing, like, yeah, back in my day, like, we got pizza, like, maybe once a month. Like, if I had friends for a sleepover, that was a special occasion.
Yeah.
But, like, and then for fast food, that was, if you're on the road for family vacation, we took that, we drove those in a little minivan, then every once in a while you get the fast food, but I mean, fast food, like, yeah, to me, that was a treat. Now, a lot of people, everything's a treat, which also means it's no longer a treat because it's just the default.
Yes.
Like, fast food used to be fast, convenient, and cheap. And it used to have a great value add because the price point was very aggressive back in the day.
Yes.
Some variables they can't control, like inflation, I understand that. But nowadays, fast food is expensive, a little bit more inconvenient.
Absolutely. And
it's also, I'd say, on average, the quality has decreased, partially because they have those price points and there's a lot of variables that they're fighting against.
Yes.
So nowadays, I'm trying to think, I don't think I've bought fast food in 15 years. I'm also pretty frugal, but, like, I've gone to restaurants with clients, but, like, in terms of fast food,
yeah,
like, I just pack a cooler if I'm doing drop-offs. So, like, it has a lot to do with the way my parents raised me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would be, not financial advice, but I'd be pretty concerned if I own stocks in a fast food company because unless they automate the absolute heck out of it, and even that will just be different variables and different costs because you have to refill machines, you have to have programmers.
Yep.
But that industry is, I think they're in for a hurt. Like, the McDonald's $5 meal only exists because of artificial offsetting the cost with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola said, oh yeah, we're going to help you with this campaign. So it either means Coca-Cola is losing money temporarily for goodwill and publicity. But yeah, in terms of all the costs, like they're all trying. I understand it, but that's rough. And a lot of people realize it's not a big evil corporation. A lot of them are family owned. They're franchise
They're
owned.
franchise owned.
And it's rough times, especially now for that industry. And
Yes.
yeah, in terms of finances, first thing to cut, stop those stupid expensive coffees. Like no one needs it. It's like you don't, especially the 7-Eleven stuff, which I love 7-Eleven. They're, well, globally in Japan, but also Texas based in Irving. But like you're paying so much for that convenience factor. Just take 3 minutes to plan your next day and have it in the fridge at home.
And
Like
have it at home.
a lot of people realize all it adds up in the aggregate detrimentally. I mean,
Yeah.
all those habits, and again, there's nothing wrong with a treat. If you work for it, that makes sense. But if it's the default, that's when I think the financial issues really add
Facts.
up.
Facts.
What's your favorite story in terms of like you help someone turn around the financial situation, or like the biggest eye opener where you're working with someone you saw like what's an unusual thing on their spreadsheet, or like the cost you're able to immediately help them out and cut from the budget? What was that like?
The very first thing, my nephew, he and I were talking about just finances and our tomorrow. I always tell our kids, and I call them my kids, my nephews and nieces, is what you do today will affect your tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
You may not understand it today. You may not go through it, whatever. Whether it's good or bad, it will affect your tomorrow. And so I think the first thing that he and I looked at when it came to his finances was he was spending a lot of time and a lot of money on the streaming stuff, like we said earlier.
oh yeah,
He had Hulu and Disney, and
Netflix,
he had Netflix. He had
Peacock.
Peacock.
Oh jeez,
He had like maybe
ESPN
like
Plus,
10,
all that
15.
stuff. 15? Oh my god.
He was a big sports guy.
Oh yeah.
And so, and I'm like, dude, you spend almost like $300
A month?
just a month in just your streaming
God.
alone. I said, we ain't even looked at your fast food.
That's a car a year. Oh my gosh.
It's a car payment.
Yeah.
right?
Well, depending on what car you get, that's a whole used car. I mean, if you find a nice Craigslist one.
Yeah. So I'm like, that was one of the first things. And I was like, dude, you got to change. I'm not telling you to give up all of them,
Yeah.
but consolidate.
Yeah.
Which one does the same thing, right? And so he dwindled it down, and it's more about, again, looking at those things, like you said, going line by line,
Yeah.
looking at what you're doing on fast food, because he was spending a lot of fast food money.
What's the
eating
biggest-
out all the time.
What was the biggest fast food logo that he would patron the most? So I wonder if McDonald's.
BWW,
Which one?
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of Buffalo Wild Wings, a lot of Popeyes was on there, and I'm like, dude, you eat out too much.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, that whole piece. And I think once you do that comparison, you'll notice you'll spend maybe 125 here, do another 200 on this side. That's 325, maybe $400 in a month. Just
Yeah.
to save.
Oh yeah.
And I told him, I said, if you do that, I said, just do that. Don't touch it. Just let it sit.
Get a high yield savings account and just
Absolutely.
use those fun calculators. See how much it is in 3, 5, 10 years. Even again, you also have that variable of inflation, but throughout history, even taking the inflation account is still great.
Absolutely.
If you want to risk it, roll the dice a little bit, get enough financial advice. Gotta have that caveat for the legal that sort of stuff.
Yes.
It's like getting the S&P 500. That's statistically speaking one of the best things to do. Like in terms of something that historically, get enough financial advice, but like that's a great thing to do because you got diversified across those 500 companies. Like, I know some friends who try to play the stock market. Once you start picking individual stocks, unless you know something,
Yeah.
it's pretty hard. I mean, even Nvidia, after their earnings call, even though they made their money, they beat expectations. It didn't beat it by leaps and miles, which a lot of people, because they had done historically. Even that caused their stock to, I think it went down by like 9-10% past couple of days after their last Q2 results that were announced. And people thought they were bulletproof. I mean, people were watching that like it was a Halo release party. Like people watching Jensen, like it was hyped up so much.
Yeah.
I understand because it's a big parameter. It's one of the most important S&P. I understand that, especially in tech, all the AI and all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, if that's all your money's in at one company, for better or worse, that could be great. I mean, there are employees at NVIDIA, they're all buying Lamborghinis in the NVIDIA green color because they're all making that money there. But it's like, well, if it didn't work out, there's a downside there as well.
Absolutely.
I saw is there not a fan of Lamborghini? What is that?
No, I mean it's everyone's preference.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Right. Not my preference, but it could be someone else's preference.
But and that's another thing. Cars are trash in terms of like I love when like car salesmen be like, "Oh yeah, it's an investment." I'm like, Have you ever taken an accounting course? It's a depreciating
As
asset.
soon as.
Yeah, unless you have a very, very not like a Toyota Limited because they have that trim line. A limited like Ferrari or Lamborghini. Sure, some will go up in value, but on average, as soon as a tire hits the pavement when you're driving away, it's 10% gone, forever.
Yes.
And I always tell people like, yeah, that's why not to get into EVs and more ADHD, but like I love good old gas cars because my parents pretty frugal. You know what they bought? They bought a 2001 Honda Accord new.
Really?
In the Midwest. Still to this day runs like a champ.
Oh, yeah.
It's not too fancy. It's a base model, just an inline four engine. Unfortunately, it's automatic, so a little sad as a kind. But it's one of those things where it just works. It's not fancy, but it's a durable thing.
Yes.
Changes the oil, takes care of you.
Take it. Yes.
And yeah, some people like these financial shows like, oh yeah, I'm paying $607 a month for a car. I'm like, what?
Why?
Like that's money down the drain. It's just that's one of the biggest things Americans make in terms of financial mistakes. Is I'm gonna get a fancy car.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got my first job. It's like, well, don't forget the students' loans more often than not. But it's like, also, we all want nice cars, but also cost to maintain, the insurance,
the cost to maintain it.
Oh yeah, like I met a Lamborghini owner. He spends $1,000 a month on insurance. Just to insure the damn thing.
That's crazy.
It's even funnier because he doesn't drive it every day.
That's
it's
crazy.
$1,000 a month just to insure the car. To me, that blew my mind. I'm like, that turns, I don't like that.
Yeah, not at all. But hey, if you're a billionaire,
well, yeah, of course,
do your thing.
Oh,
right?
Get your treat. If you've got that, if you've got the all the wealth is taken care of, you got diversified, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're all set. Sure, then absolutely. Yeah, spring, get a fun toy. Yeah.
Go ahead. Buy a yacht.
Precisely.
Not talking about Mr. Jones, but buy a yacht.
But it's like, that's definitely one of the things. And I can tell you're passionate about helping me financially. That's really cool. I like that. Because, again, it's so important. And people don't realize, like, everything adds up in the aggregate, for better or worse.
Absolutely.
And just look at the paper, look at the spreadsheets, and just think, like, if you just set aside $20 a month, just throw that money somewhere into it.
Don't even touch it.
Yeah, just forget about it. Just throw it in there. It's like, that's one of the things I do miss about working in corporate America. Was like the 401k match and the stock investment options too. Once you get a certain level of corporate America, it's
and
like
don't touch it.
Yep, precisely. Just like, let it ride. Like, oh, that's the way to do it.
And don't touch it.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Don't touch it.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
that should be a T-shirt or mug. Save, throw it in, don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Precisely.
And plus, I tell my kids now is to always have cash on hand.
Oh yeah, cash is king.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
True. There are outages.
Absolutely.
Stuff isn't perfect in banking or finance or anything like that. Especially if you're shopping a small business, give them cash.
Give them cash.
It's not just because they may or not report it, but people don't realize. Oh yeah, all the credit cards take on average maybe 3 to 4%. And that adds up. I mean, that literally adds up to trillions and billions of dollars in the aggregate.
Yes.
But yeah, a lot of small businesses, man, give them that cash. It's immediate up front. Like their eyes light, especially if you're working with a business owner, their eyes light up. They appreciate that. And yeah, in terms of like the value of cash, like one of my friends loves cash so much in terms of like the business and methodology. In terms of, well, if I have $100, I spend $100, they get $100. The wealth, the money kind of stays. If it's a credit card transaction, $100, well, the merchant, the business owner gets $97 or $96, then they pay someone else. Well, that's $94, and just goes away. It's like, don't get me wrong, it's great for the credit card companies. They're making a living doing it.
Exactly, not for the business owner.
Yeah, precisely. It's like, especially with all those fines add up with your small business. Every penny counts.
Every penny counts.
Yeah, just get that cash. It's more stable. And again, when I always tell people, chef, like I recommend just having a couple $100 in your wallet because you never know what's going to happen. And that could solve a lot of things in life, especially if it's like, a little fender bender or something, something like that. Be like, you really want to deal with insurance? And like, oh, okay. Well, what if we drive the ATM and stuff like that? Well, it's like, well, maybe they don't trust each other. Drive the, what I got that glove? Got it right here in my wallet. I was about to say glove box, but don't do that because cars be broken. I don't do that. Cars be broken into. I never recommend that or do it myself. It's like, just have it in your pocket.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Absolutely. But yeah, it's crazy. So I tell them, cash is king. Keep some cash on you, and just. My grandmother used to, and it's a funny story. My grandmother, rest her soul, is she paid for her first trip to Las Vegas in quarters, dimes, and nickels.
No way. That's awesome. I like that.
She saved up to buy her first plane trip and her money to spend at the casino with quarters, dimes, and nickels.
I love that. That's awesome.
I was like, wow.
Dude, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I had that old, had that jar, and every time I had any
Yes.
change, threw it in that jar, and after a couple of years, it added up enormously.
Absolutely.
Relative to my being a kid and knowing what money was. It's like, now it's like, wait a minute, that's 1 month of electricity bill? Oh, dang.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But yeah, it was crazy. Those were good times. I mean,
Absolutely.
easy times is what I call them.
Good times.
This new generation doesn't know about the easy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They
precisely.
don't know about the TV going off at midnight. And
Oh, yeah. Less distractions back in the day.
Eagle flying across the screen and
TV
God Bless
guide.
America coming on
Yeah.
and the TV going off.
Well, there's a lot less distractions. There's 3 channels back when when cable first came out, it is pretty concise in terms of what options that were out there.
Yes. Very true. Very true. True. But, we're here now in this technological age. Terminator age is what I call it.
Oh, yeah.
Time for Terminator time.
Dun, 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 dun.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say, do you want to give your Darlaws, you want to give the studio a quick shout out again before you sign off?
Yeah, for Dare to Dance Studio in Mesquite, Texas.
Perfect. Well, Corey, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Don't forget to click that like, subscribe, and comment button. Let us know what your thoughts are. Also, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe. You have a great day. Topping Talks.